Yeah, I think I'm live. Okay, awesome. Welcome, guys. I'm Scott Duke. I'm dropping into this Small Business Owners United club. This is the first live that I've done with you guys. So if you are tuning in right now, if you're on the group and you kind of see me going off right now, maybe toss a comment into the chat and just say, hey, how's it going, Scott? I'm so and so. This is my business. This is what I do. This is where I'm from. Or maybe just type in what you're from, and I can see if the comments are even working that are over here, and then we can comment back. What I'm talking about today, and everyone's like, oh, what's the pitch going to be, whatever, like, just so you aren't too worried what the pitch is, that is this right here. So this is this exit plan summit. This is what I'm running at the end of this month for business owners that are thinking about or planning to sell their company in the future. That is what this summit here is all about. And that's kind of why I'm going in the group. But the secondary reason why I'm going in the group is just to share with you guys some experiences that I've had personally trying to sell my own companies, and also the experiences that I've learned from these people that I'm interviewing for this summit. I targeted 30 speakers for this summit that are kind of the top experts in their field in the world. So we have people that are like from the UK, we have people from Australia, we have people that are all across America and Canada. But the interesting thing is they're all in the field of building and selling companies. And they've sold around 25,000 companies. So it's like a massive amount of knowledge that these individuals have. And it's taken me, in the comments there, I put that it's taken me about 4 months to interview all these people just to get into their schedules. And a lot of really cool information is coming out of it, which I'm going to tell you guys about, on this call here. I think I've about 30 minutes that I can rattle off and talk to you about some of the stuff I've learned from these calls. But first, I wanted to drop in and give you, because I'm new to the group, and give you a bit of a background on myself and kind of where I come from and how I've gotten to where I am, and what's driving me and the passion behind teaching entrepreneurs how to sell their companies. So I've got a couple of pictures here. This is this software that I'm using is Ecamm Live, by the way. So if you guys are wanting to get into doing live videos or anything of the sort, then this Ecamm Live is killer. So it allows you to do stuff like this. So boom. So here's a picture of me, boom, as a hot dog cart vendor. So for a while in my life, about 2.5 years, I was a ski bum and also a hot dog cart guy. And they were really good years, but it kind of sets the grounding for entrepreneurship, and that's just something that was honestly, if you like, I mean, people mean they're depending on where they are in their career, but being the hot dog cart guy was like, it was fantastic. I worked 3 days a week, just in the evenings, mostly serving after the bar. This was at a festival, this picture, but and I'd make like $500 to $800 a day, so it was kind of a decent little business. The other stuff I've done is I've run a radio station. So I started and ran, grew, and then transferred to radio station. This was like an article that we had in I don't know what paper this was, but anyhow, I was making waves. So the town I was living in just had really crappy radios. I'm like, oh, we need to start a radio station here. This was this company right here called Base Camp. This was a kids camp that I ran, and it had we ended up having 4 locations with this, and it mostly was around wakeboarding, which for people that don't know what wakeboarding is, it's kind of water skiing. Anyhow, but this company was really the impetus that kind of got me to where I am now, because it didn't sell. Like, we ran this business for 5 years, and then it just ended up shutting down. It was kind of a tragic experience shutting it down. This is the picture I have of this business completely shut down. So it's me, this is my wife, and standing in front of this like homemade trailer. That this camp was like, we did skateboarding, and we did wakeboarding, we did kiteboarding, we did all kind of stuff. It's like a board sport kind of thing. But anyhow, this was the mini ramp that we had there that I tore apart and put together. There's an old boat trailer actually underneath it that I put together and made this like little trailer that we put all our stuff in and like moved across the country. But I tell this story because it was painful, like doing this, shutting down a business, not selling it, and then having to move. It was almost like a shame thing that I had because of it. So I think that's what's kind of like took me on this career trajectory of helping people sell their businesses. But anyway, that was that. And then just one more company. So this company that I ran, we bought this company, and then I later sold it for 10 times what we bought it for. So kind of learning the things over the course of time, from running small business and these businesses, not selling, like failing to sell. I'm like, okay, forget this. Like, I got to build something that has value in it, like value enough to sell. And then so this company we bought and then grew it and then sold it, like I said. But this was in the property management industry, and we did vacation rental, and we also did short-term or long-term rental. and had about 300 units. But I learned a lot in this company about how to build a company that was sellable. But once we sold that, then I kind of got into the industry of helping people sell their businesses, which is, what I do now for a living. And, then I got my CBI, which is this like designation down here. You guys can't even see the mouse, so it doesn't even matter. But certified business intermediary, and then this is certified mergers and acquisitions, what that other acronym stands for. But anyway, all of it, it all is our story, right? And you guys are on the journey too as entrepreneurs, and that's why I think this group is, so cool to be a part of and to be able to speak directly to you. So if anyone is in this group right now, like listening to this, just toss into the comments, go, hey, how's it going? Like, we can hear you, or what's up? So just so that I know that you're actually there, I can write into this comments here too. Hey guys. Yeah, what's up? Okay, just so I know there's like other human beings out there, feel free to like just toss in that chat. And then later, after I, kind of talk to you guys a little bit about what I'm learning from all these interviews that I'm doing, I'm happy to answer any questions that relate to business sales, business transition, business growth, running a hot dog cart, or whatever it may be. So, okay, well, I don't see anyone like dropping in here. So let me tell you the four things that I've kind of learned and pulled out of these interviews that I've been doing. And just again, to give you a bit of background, like some of the people that I'm interviewing have been involved in selling, like, well, the largest network online for selling small business is business.Your. And 2 days ago, I interviewed the president for that company. So they've been involved in selling over 100,000 companies. And one of the things that I'm asking all these people that I'm interviewing is, if an owner is thinking about selling their company, whether it be this year or in the next 3 years or in the next 5 years, what is the one thing that they should do to ensure that that company successfully sells? And it's like, if we can like narrow our focus, what's that one thing that we should be looking at to make sure that, yeah, we're building our company along the way, but we're also thinking about, oh, I should take this down. We don't need this up here. What are we thinking about as we're building it that is actually going to make it sellable at the same time? And it's been incredibly interesting because all these people come from different backgrounds. So they're accountants, they're lawyers, they're M&A advisors, they're private equity. They own private equity firms. They run clubs like the Business Buyer Club. So each of them has a different perspective on what it is that needs to be done to sell a business at the end of the day, or make a business so that it is sellable. And for me, I'm like really intrigued, like what are those commonalities that kind of run across the board that everyone seems to be, is there commonalities? Like that's when I was starting these interviews, like that was one of the questions that I had. And so so let me tell you guys, because this is kind of this is the information that is of value to all of us. So the number one thing that they're saying that's come out of these interviews is that you need to have solid financials. And it's like, okay, well, duh, right? But like I know from history, like I'm telling you, that hot dog cart I ran, and even my wakeboard school that had 5 locations, like the numbers, like I didn't really pay a ton of attention to the financials, and oftentimes it'd be the end of the year that I like crack open the P&L and be like, ooh, we didn't do that great. Or there'd be years it's like, oh, I get the P&L at the end of the year, like, ooh, we did really good. That's a common thing for entrepreneurs, right? So the big thing that's coming out of this, like kind of the number one thing that I would say that I'm asking this question is to like monitor, manage, and make sure that your financials are up to date, right? And I ask, I'm like, okay, fine. So you want my financials to be up to date? Like, how does that actually change things tomorrow? Like, what am I going to do any different than what I always do now that I know that information? And so I asked that of a CPA that is, his whole career is helping people set their financials up so their companies can be sellable. And he's like, the easiest and best thing to do is, one, just make sure that you have your account set up on a really easy online system. So QuickBooks is the easiest example and probably the most common. So have it set up on QuickBooks. And then 2, have somebody else managing it. So whether that like you're outsourcing this work to somebody else, and we do that with the companies we have right now. And if you have a smaller company, it's like $150 a month, and someone else is like, you have a bookkeeper totally taking care of that. That's completely outsourced, right? But the other thing is you can like bring somebody in-house. So like, if like your company's large enough, then somebody in your organization should be 100% dedicated to managing the financials at all times, so that your P&L at the end of the year is incredibly clean. And I mean, I could go super deep here in this. I had a 45-minute interview with this accountant, and we just dove extremely deep on that most important thing. So you know exactly what you need to do with your financials to make sure it's sellable, looking at it from the financial statement, from the P&L side and from the balance sheet side. So either way, that was number one that seems to be coming out of these calls that I'm doing. The second one was that the business needs to not be dependent completely on the owner. And I would say this one is arguably a little bit more difficult because it's quite easy for us to go, okay, yeah, I'm not really paying enough attention to my financials. Let me just like find somebody that can do that on a day-to-day basis so that I can get that box checked. The dependence on us as owners is a little bit more difficult, right? Especially if our companies are a little bit smaller and so we're doing all that day-to-day work. And so there's a guy, John Warlow, that wrote a book, Built to Sell, and he calls this the hub and spoke model. So it's like if you think of yourself as the owner, like you're the hub, and then every part of your business comes out of that hub as a spoke. And then if you were to like remove yourself as the middle of that hub, all the spokes just kind of fall apart and the business like really deteriorates without you and isn't kind of worth anything. That is that like this from my experience from selling companies is absolutely true. And one of the first things we do when we look at a business is go, okay, how dependent it is on the owner and like how can we replace this owner, whether we're putting in a general management or taking a key person and kind of moving them slowly into that position. But it was interesting to have these conversations with like it doesn't matter, like private equity firms that are companies of $50,000, they're looking at that risk, like what's the owner risk here, and like independently purchased companies where you know an owner selling to another person that's going to kind of step into their shoes, that is also incredibly important, is the owner dependence piece, right? So this gets flagged, and then my question is, okay, to these attendees or the people that I'm interviewing, what is it that people should be doing to make sure that their business is not dependent on them? And the feedback that I got from these interviewees is delegate, 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 delegate. That's Earl Whittle said that. That was his. He's like delegate, 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 delegate. And that can be hard, right? Because like we're kind of giving up. It feels like we're giving up a chunk of our power of our organization when we're saying, okay, somebody else, like you're going to do this part of what was my job. But every time you do that little piece, man, does that make your company more sellable. And it also allows you to be a little bit more free. It's like every time I delegate something out or outsource it, or even eliminate it directly, like from your company, if it's not providing any value, then it I say, like my slogan is every day a step away, right? So it's like if you're thinking about selling or building a company that is sellable, it's like every day a step away. It's like what can I do today that's going to allow me to step just that little bit, you know, further away from my company, so that it is no longer dependent on me, right? So that was number two. That was the biggest thing. And if you're listening, if anyone's out there, like in the comments, just like say, hey, Scott, how's it going? Let me know where you're from and I can holler back at you so that it's funny when you do these lives, for those of you that if you've ever done one of these before, but you end up just like, I'm in this room right here, like in my office, and you're just talking at this screen. And I teach every month, well, every other month, but it used to be every month and now it's every other month. I teach 250 people how to become business brokers, real estate agents, and make them business brokers. And you're doing these classes and it's like you're just talking to this camera. You're like, hey, is anyone out there on these Zooms? So it's always easier when someone's like interacting with you to know that they're out there. But either way, I'll just keep plugging forward. So, okay, so we have financials was incredibly important. Then we had owner dependence that seems to be propagating to the top, and like over and over again, people are saying that. And then the third thing was, and this was interesting because this came from an individual named Lucas. I'm forgetting Lucas's last name right now, but he owns a company called Searchfunder.com. And Searchfunder.com has 5,000 people at any given time. It like fluctuates, and there's about 7,000 members on it. But there's 5,000 people that are just searching for businesses. That's all they're doing. Like that is why they're on the network. They're just trying to find new business opportunities to acquire. So if you're thinking about selling your business, that's definitely a place that you should go and check out, especially if your business is a larger size. But when I asked him the question of, you know, what's that one thing that owners should be doing to ensure that their business is sellable at the end of the day, he said that you have to have defendable cash flows. It's like, okay, so you have to have defendable cash flows. Great. So what does that mean, defendable cash flows? And then so we dug a little bit deeper into that. And what that means is, okay, someone's going to look, a buyer's going to look at your company, and these searchers that are on his network, they're looking at a company. And what at the end of the day are people really looking for when they're looking at buying your business? They're looking at, what's the cash flow that you're generating today? What is that going to be in the future? And that's what the buyer cares about. The buyer cares about the future. And like, shocker, the reason why they care about the future is because they're the ones that are likely to own the company or looking to own the company in the future. So the future cash flows are the most important to them. And for us as owners, like, we have our financials, and that's all telling the history of what our company did, right? So it's like, okay, then if they care mostly about these future financials and the future cash flow, and that's what they're valuing the company off of, then that becomes important, that we can prove that these cash flows are defendable. So what makes cash flow defendable? Well, it comes down to, are these revenues recurring? Like, how sticky are our customers to us? Like, how many times are the customers coming back per year? What's our brand? Like, is like how strong is our brand so that other competitors can't come in and knock us down? Do we have risks like within our company? So are there risks such as, like I just said, an owner dependence risk? Like, if we remove the owner, is that going to affect those future cash flows so they're no longer dependable or defendable? Or do we have like a key staff person, that there's a key staff person in our business, like if they left, that would be a serious issue? Or do we have like a key supplier? Like, if we have one supplier that we're getting some of our products off and that supplier goes under, how does that affect us? Or even worse, and this came up a lot, especially if you're selling to larger organization, if you're trying to sell to a strategic partner, if you're trying to sell to a large private equity firm, they really dig deep on your customer concentration. And it's like, who are you selling to? And if you're selling to one group that is just it is the largest, your largest customer, say they represent like 80% of your sales. This sometimes happens when people are selling to government. They have like a large government contract and it makes up the vast majority of their business and their revenues. It's like, if that is what you have and you lose that one client, all of a sudden those revenues that you were generating previously just disappear, right? So a lot of buyers are looking and saying, okay, what is the customer risk in this business? And all that kind of like comes back to, the defendability of the cash flows. What's the likelihood and the probability of your current cash flows today being generated into the future? So that was number 3. So we've kind of covered 3, and I'll drop in one more for you guys on this live. So number 4 is not having access to buyer networks. Oh, this is what it actually was. So it's not having access to networks, but it's not having access to the people that can support you going through your business. And I mean, there's going to be some bias, obviously, that comes from that, because everybody that I'm interviewing is in the industry and they are supporting people that are selling their business. But what I did find was interesting is that a lot of them talked about process, right? So there is a process and a system for like selling your company, just like anything. Like, if you're going to be building a house, you're looking to build a new house, okay, fine. I'm likely going to hire a general contractor to build that house because they know how to pour the foundation, find the trades they're going to put up, do all the framing, find the trades that are going to do all the inside work, like running the plumbing, running the electrical, and know the right people. They're going to do the job well. You want to have a good roof, all the rest of it. They're going to know the interior designers to kind of set things up and the architects to do things properly. So you want to hire someone regardless of what you're doing. If you're doing it for the first time, like the house example, you want to have experienced people by your side. So this came up on repeat because, again, there's like obviously some bias to it because these people are in the industry, but I strongly agree with it. And that is because every time I've done something for the first time, you stumble a little bit and you fall, and you stumble a little bit and you fall, and you kind of learn through experience as you go down the road. But it's much easier to just take the experience of these individuals that have already gone through and sold a lot of them interviewed been like 300, 450 companies. So they've already done the stumbling for you, and they also have the networks of the buyers to directly connect with. The really interesting thing about this was when I was interviewing the M&A firm and the private equity company, they were saying they don't work with people unless they understand the process, because it just slows them down too much. Like, they have mountains of capital. This particular company had, I think, 50, 60 million they were trying to deploy into the marketplace. And they need to do it quickly. And to do it quickly, they need to be working with experienced personnel, experienced people in deal making. So they specifically chose, like, they're only working with sellers that have representation. So I found that interesting. So anyhow, those are four things. I've learned so much more than that as I've been going through this process, and also being in this industry for the last 7 years, helping people sell their companies. But if you are interested, if you're watching this not live, because we're not getting a ton of comments live, but if you're watching this not live, then this is the link. Just go to exitplansummit.com. It is completely free. There's no cost to it. And the reason why I'm putting this thing on is that I'm trying to get that knowledge out to entrepreneurs. It's the reason why I'm in this group right now doing this live. It's the reason why, we're pushing like advertising right now, figuring out what's going to resonate, and posting on LinkedIn, all this stuff. We have a whole team right now that's doing marketing for this event. But the purpose of it is I just don't want people, like, this is what I go back to, this picture. I don't want people standing in front of a trailer when their business doesn't sell or it just kind of deteriorates, right? It's such a waste of energy. Like, the reality is, like, we as entrepreneurs, all of us in this group, we are just pumping energy, energy and time, energy and time, energy and time. We're just pumping that into our one asset. And like, you may be listening and own multiple companies, so you don't only have one company. So it's not your sole asset. But if, like, the vast majority of people run one business, right? And we take all of our energy and we take a lot of our resources and we pump that into these companies. And then at the end of the day, if we put all this energy in, but we forgot that one small piece of setting it up so that it's transferable, it's just an absolute shame. Like, it's a complete disaster. And I've been through it multiple times where I built companies and then they didn't sell. I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know how to sell them. So it for me, I just thought, okay, well, I'll just shut this thing down and start the next one. But when I learned the few things, and it's honestly, it's not a ton. It's not a ton of things. And it's not it's work, but you're already doing work, right? So you do the extra little bit of work, and it's on the margins. Like, it's just on the sides, right? You do that extra tiny little bit of work, and all of a sudden your company becomes sellable. This is the difference. The difference is you go from something that you just shut down, and like, sometimes shutting a company down is extremely expensive, right? So it actually ends up being, you're in the negative, or you end up selling something and you're in the positive, and you walk away with a check. So when you walk away with a check, the beauty is you can roll that into your next business. You can use it to travel. You can use it to, like, fund whatever lifestyle. You pay down the mortgage on your house, whatever it might be. It is free cash for you that didn't exist before. And all you did was build your company so that it was sellable. That's it. So that's the message I'm trying to get across on this live. I'm going to be maybe doing a couple more of these lives leading up to this event in the group with you guys. So I'll do some more pre-promotion so that people are around and I can answer any questions people have. But either way, thanks for your time, and I'm really happy to be part of the group. And if if it's something that you're thinking about in the future of selling your company, this has been incredibly valuable. Like, someone like myself who's sold 3 of my own companies and have been in the industry helping other people sell their companies for 7 years. I'm still learning from these people that we're talking in this summit, and it's been an incredible experience. So check it out, and I'll see you guys on the next live. Looking forward to it.